Greetings and welcome to Citizen AY, the platform where we speak truth to power. It's a pleasure to have you join us again. If you are joining us for the first time and you haven't subscribed, here's what we would like you to do. Please go ahead, subscribe to Citizen AY on YouTube, hit the notification button, and of course, give us the thumbs up. And once again, subscribe, hit the notification button, and of course, give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate you. Help us grow the platform. Tonight, we are looking, this is hot off the press, as it were. Falana, one of the lawyers that was jailed under the Ibrahim Babangida regime in, if you recall, on June 12, 1993. He spent several time in and out of jail because of his clamor for human rights. He is, you will shortly hear, he is going to sue the former military head of state for really making some, what he terms as wrong claims in the sense of the dates of the June 12 and also his incarceration. He had very, he stated some very clear points that he disagreed with fundamentally in the case put forward by Ibrahim Babangida in his speech. One of the key things is, for example, he's not a presidential head of state. He was a military head of state that imposed. The people did not vote for him. A very striking thing that struck a chord with me. Let us have a listen to it. So, yeah, we will talk more about the case that is going to bring maybe afterwards. But let's just watch it. I think it's best. Please do share. You are, of course, listening to Citizen AY, the platform where we speak truth to power. Here we go.
There you have it. You've been served with your political roundup story. So tonight, it might be some hard eating and reflections on prison times and some very horrific military day treatment. So more reactions keep coming on the release of former military president Ibrahim Babangida's memoir, which has reignited debate about Nigeria's political history. A significant revelation in the book involved the annulment of the June 12, 1993 presidential election, which Babangida admitted was won by Moshood Kashimawo Olawale Abiola, popularly known as MK Abiola. From what the account of the former military head of state Babangida in that book, he says the annulment was influenced by forces within his administration, allegedly led by Sani Abacha. We're late. Tonight, I'm being joined by one of those whose voices were very loud during the military junta and had to sleep in jail many times for their activities. They were in fact very notorious for in some prison cells because they visited it more than multiple times. Perhaps one of the few who survived the brutality of the military days is a younger Femi Falana and his life for us here in our studio here in Abuja. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Femi Falana.
Thank you very much.
At some point, I had a conversation with, let us say, Gnike Falana, of how your days in prison during the military days and how he had to independently take care of the children and in your absence were spending times in jail. But I'm imagining what kind of reflections IBB's book would have brought to your mind. In summary, how do you describe the record and the record and the account of former head of state Ibrahim Babangida?
Well, I've taken time. I persuaded myself to read the book. And the impression I gathered at the end of the day was that an attempt was made by the retired general to recall events, but perhaps in an attempt to tell a story, he engaged in what I would call a careless distortion of history. Because there are gaps that he was unable to fill at the end of the day. And I think he also might have forgotten that not all the dramatists personnel have passed away. So history has already taken care of the Babangida tenure. Any attempt by him now to rewrite history failed woefully in the book.
So, from your own point of view, you don't quite agree with some of the accounts, especially in some of the dated events and some of the events which you personally are involved. And perhaps let's take it one after the other, because if we both are involved in an event, our accounts may be different depending on where the Koboko hits, because the military used Koboko a lot on the civilians at the time. But where the Koboko hits more on you and where it hurts, where in the book did you feel that the account of IBB was distorted?
Many areas of the book. I mean, talking about the annulment of the election, General Babangida claimed that he traveled to Katsina on the 23rd of June 1993, and he was flabbergasted to learn about the annulment. I beg your pardon.
Yeah, bear with me. The broadcast is just frozen for a momentarily. We will proceed shortly. Okay, this is by channels as well. This broadcast was on channels earlier today. We will proceed shortly. Here we go.
All programs in the second quarter of the schedule, political transition program schedule, including June 12 election. He also banned the courts, particularly the Court of Appeal, that was then entertaining the case. And the Court of Appeal was going to decide the validity of the ex parte order of Justice Ikpeme and the ex parte order of Justice Saleh in the face of Section 19 of Decree 25 of 1987, that no court shall inquire into or make any order to stop elections. No interim order, no interlocutory order or final order will be made by any court to stop the conduct of election. So when they discover, when the junta discovered that the Court of Appeal was going to set aside those orders, a decree was enacted by General Babangida on the 22nd of June. So altogether, 5 decrees, which justified the annulment. So the announcement of 23rd by Unduka Irabo was anchored on the decrees enacted by him the previous day, justifying the annulment of election. That's number one. Number two, between 23rd of August and 26th, General Babangida promulgated 7 decrees, again to confirm the annulment, to legalize the interim national government, and for the country to move on. He claimed that he was not aware. He was taken aback on the 23rd of June. But on the 26th of June,
you can see,
he made a broadcast, a nationwide broadcast, justifying the annulment.
1 second. Let me get you that annulment just to buttress what he's saying. So here we go with the broadcast. that Femi Falana SAN, senior advocate of Nigeria, was referring to. Here we go.
That the presidential election was generally seen to be free, fair, and peaceful. However, there was, in fact, a huge array of electoral malpractices virtually in all the states of the Federation.
But the election was annulled by the regime of General Ibrahim Babangida, a move that led to protests which threatened the fabric of the nation's existence.
So, this was exactly what SAN, Femi Falana, senior advocate of Nigeria, was referring to. Let's carry on.
And alleging that the election was riddled with corruption, corrupt practices. Even though it appeared to have been fair and free, but the election could not be relied upon. Also on the 22nd of June, he annulled, or rather, set aside the Presidential Election Petition Tribunal, headed by the late Justice Bola Babalaki, set up by the Chief Justice of Nigeria, Chief Justice Mohammed Bello. So how you can turn around to give the impression that some forces, without his knowledge, annulled the election.
Now we know why they call him Maradona.
Could it be, Mr. Falana, that maybe the man at the very top is not really aware of the machinations of all of the scheming, and a lot of things happened.
The man at the top signed the decree to annul the election.
He did.
Signed the decree.
Maybe he doesn't know the details of the...
No, Babangida was sufficiently intelligent. And he once said, in the face of the crisis,
stop trying to make excuses.
I'm not only in office, I am in power.
You see?
And he exercised the power against the interests of Nigeria. He also said at that time that they are not the election in the national interest. He never mentioned Abacha. No. And in any case, the annulment you are talking about was perhaps the last stage of the manipulation. Following the criminal annulment of the election, the campaign for democracy organized peaceful protests in many parts of the country.
Indeed.
General Babangida ordered that the late Chief Gani Fawoimi, the late Dr. Bekoram Somkuchi, and myself be arrested and brought to Abuja here, where we were charged before a chief magistrate in Wuse here for the allegations were unlawful assembly, conspiracy, unlawful assembly, and sedition. What was the sedition about? That we had published the results of the election, which he has not published in his book. But at that time, it was a criminal. He made it a criminal offense. Our bail was refused at the instance of the government. Again, the junta thought foolishly that once we were put away, there would be no protest in the country any longer. So we were sent to Kuje prison here. Again, sensing that we might get bail in the High Court, General Babangida ordered that we be detained in addition to the court remand under the State Security Detention Person Decree number 2 of 1984. And so we were detained. Now,
I just want to state this. There is nothing democratic about the actions taken by the man who was claiming to give us democracy, IBB. There is nothing democratic about it. Let's just carry on.
Now, you said we committed an offense by challenging the annulment of election. 32 years later, you are now saying, oh, I regret that we are not the election. So that means you knew.
Indeed.
You deliberately arrested me, detained me, charged me, and paraded me as a criminal. Only for you to say now, sorry. No, you didn't say sorry. We regret what we did. No apologies. For me, we're taking it beyond the book. A year earlier, because Nigerians must not forget the fact that when General Babangida staged a palace coup on August 27, 1985, I'm talking of when he removed Buhari and his colleague, plotted the removal of another military head of state, General Muhammadu Buhari.
That's correct.
He said, he criticized the Buhari Idi Agbon Tanzani's junta for not fixing a terminal date. So he said, we are going to leave office in 1990. In October 1990. 1990 came. He postponed the terminal date to 1992. 1992 came. He changed it to January 1993.
See?
January 1993 came. He changed it to
August
1993. But what we did in 1992 was to say this postponement had to stop. So we organized protests and published posters. Babangida must go.
IBB must go was very popular on the front pages of them.
Yes.
Was major headlines on major newspapers.
Of course, we were arrested in Lagos, brought to Abuja, FCT, and detained in Kuje prison under Decree number 2. When the late Chief Ganifan went to court, Dr. Bekoran Samkuchi, Baba Omojola, an economist, and myself were brought to Kuje prison in 1992. Chief Falana went to court on our behalf. For going to court on our behalf, he too was arrested and made to join us in prison.
That is people who are not telling you about democracy. You see, the foundation
they
for our
us in
nation
prison that we're going home.
one, not
We pack our things.
a democratic one.
The vehicle that was taking us to the airport purportedly made some maneuver, and we found ourselves at the Gwagwalada Chief Magistrate Court, where we were charged with treasonable felony. Of course, they brought the then announced president to join us, Olusegun Mayegun. So 5 of us were charged with treasonable felony. Since we had no access to our lawyers, so the late Chief Ganifan and I decided to defend ourselves and our colleagues. So, even though we're asking for bail, we turn our arraignment to the trial of the junta. And I recall on that occasion, Chief Falana told the judge, my chief magistrate, Malam Bulama, that those who should be standing trial for treason, those who should be in this dock are in the villa.
Yes.
Led by Ibrahim Babangida. Because they had sacked, they had overthrown a democratically elected government on December 31st, 1983. So, those are the people that should be standing trial. Mr. And of course, not just simple. When it came to my turn, I made it clear to the judge. This section of the law, Section 41 of the Criminal Code Act, which provides anybody who forms an intention to remove the president of his country during his term of office, otherwise than by constitutional means. I said, my lord, the man calling himself my president has no fixed term of office.
No.
So I couldn't have been brought here.
Exactly.
Of course, the judge adjourned. 2 weeks later, he granted us bail, very liberal term, 20,000 around one shot in like so. The regime could not stand another proceeding. They couldn't go back to court. So that we don't turn the thing into a full trial of Ibrahim Babangida and others. So they simply ran away. And the case was struck out. So I'm going to challenge the malicious prosecution. My malicious prosecution and that of my colleagues.
Is it not time bound? Because, no. I mean, so you want to prosecute General Babangida for whatever happened in his time as a military editor?
No, I've assembled a team of lawyers. They are looking into it because he has now brought it to life.
What exactly are you bringing?
He has brought it back to life by now admitting that there was no basis for my prosecution because he now says Abiola won the election, which was the basis of our protest. He's also saying, you know, he shouldn't have, you know, postpone the terminal date of his transition program, which again we're fighting. So which means there was no basis for our prosecution. It's malicious. Again, massive infringements of our rights, human rights. Because when you keep me in Kuje prison, you deny me my right to liberty, my freedom of movement. You also violate my right to choose the government of my country.
Indeed.
Pursuant to Article 13 of the African Charter.
Is the matter not settled bad?
No, it's not settled bad. Because the man who did it has just come out to say, I did it wrongly.
Mr. Falana, there is something that you said you have...
And again, let me say this. You know, it's not in our court. You can talk of something very settled
bad, yeah.
In the ECOWAS court in Abuja here, in the case of Femi Falana and Republic of Benin and others, the court said any violation after 3 years cannot be pursued here. But later, you know, the improvement of the jurisprudence of the court has now come to the conclusion. I think that was in the case of Federation of Journalists, you know, Gambia, and the government of that country, that once you are talking of serious, gross abuse of human rights, statute of limitation does not apply.
Let me take you on one very, very controversial matter that was also raised by the former head of state in his book, and it has to do with the late Delegiwa. And let me quote part of what he said. He said, and I quote, "My sense of loss was, however, overwhelmed by the public outcry and the feeling of tragedy in the introduction of an entirely novel mode of killing in our country, coming a few weeks after the OIC crisis, which led to the retirement of my number 2 Commodore, Ebitu Kue. I saw Giwa's wicked and cruel murder as part of a series of booby traps and acts of destabilization being hatched against the administration," end of quote. That's the account of General Babangida. And he said, hopefully, that one day, he said, Giwa was loved by his audience and the rest of the public. Targeting him would shock the public and paint the administration in a feeble light. He's saying that one day, the death and the truth about Delegiwa's death will be uncovered.
When he frustrated the attempt by the state to uncover, you know, the cause of that incident.
General Babangida in the book, Mr. Falana says that a lot of people know his closeness with Delegiwa, and they wanted to use that to paint him black, his administration black.
His relationship with General Vatsa, right, was much, much closer than that of Delegiwa. Vatsa was his best man. They grew up together. They were sleeping in the same room as bachelors.
Wow.
Right?
Listen.
He had him killed without any basis.
Wow.
But coming to Delegiwa first.
Wow.
On October 19, 1986, when that unfortunate incident happened, one of the early callers in Delegiwa's house at Okpebi in Lagos was the late Mr. Tony Momma, the information minister of the junta. And he said publicly Just like I said, because of the novel manner of this death. We have never seen it before.
The popular letter bomb.
Yes. We're going to have a public inquiry. 2 days later, the junta reneged on the decision that a public inquiry would be conducted. As if that was not enough, the late Chief Gani Fahimi, a personal friend and lawyer to Delegiwa, took up the matter, wrote to the government, if you are not willing to prosecute, I am going to prosecute. Right? The government ignored him. Gani went to court. The High Court said you have no locus standi. What is personal to you? What interest do you have that is greater than members of the public in this unfortunate incident? You went to the Court of Appeal, the same ruling. But the Court of Appeal, the Supreme Court, royal like a lion. And in a very unique jurisprudential exposition, the Supreme Court held. I think the leading judgment was delivered by Justice Obaseki, who said, in Nigeria, you cannot challenge a concerned citizen for questioning the death of another person.
Indeed.
The late Justice Esho put it in a more admirable manner when he said, the English concept of brother, neighborliness, requires blood brother. Has nothing to do with us in Africa, where you have the extended family system. And that in matters of this nature, we are all our brothers' keepers. And therefore, Gani as local standard. You know what happened? Gani then went to start the battle.
From the trial court all over again.
Unknown to him, the junta had secretly amended the law. Criminal.
This is the foundation of the 1999 Constitution. So
Code of Lagos State. To limit,
we need to rewrite the whole thing.
Private prosecution of criminal cases to perjury.
And we have to participate in the process.
So by the time Gani now started, the lawyer of the suspect of the government raised an objection that, my lord, you no longer have jurisdiction. The right to prosecute anybody for murder has been shifted. This matter was raised at Oputa. Gani gave his evidence.
I was going to make reference to Justice Oputa. And Mr. Falana, I'd like us to wrap up in this manner. I imagine that perhaps the reason, the intention of General Babangida was to lay a lot of questions, answer them, and lay things to rest, and offer a public apology. Unfortunately,
the book has raised more questions.
And you think it has opened more
Pandora box.
Now, the question here is that is it possible that we move away from this history?
Take the one of Mama Vatsa, right? It was a case of premeditated murder. Whereas Vatsa and other officers were arrested in December 1985 on suspicion that they were planning a coup. At that time, the law did not allow the military. And so what happened? A month after the arrest, while they were in detention, General Babangida promulgated a decree on January 6, 1986, to try people who were arrested a month earlier. It's murder.
Mr. Falana, a lot of these things that happened in the military.
You can see now that the basis upon which this Constitution, 1999 Constitution, you can see that it's the foundation is very much military, using decrees, oppression, suppression. This will not fly. But anyway, yeah, like SAN Femi Falana said, IBB has with his own hands opened a Pandora's box. Is indeed the right word for it. Let's carry on.
And when we imagine that this the military regime is with force and sometimes without no depth of thought, of civility and democratic thought.
They should not be in government. They should be military, should focus on military and not trying to run the nation. They're meant to protect and defend the nation, not to turn the nation against its people and then use them and use this and exercise the power that belongs to the people, make it your own personal power. That's what IBB did.
Supreme Court said in the case of Garba and Federal Civil Service Commission, the military, in coming to power, again, this is the language of justice section, is always faced with whether to allow the rule of law to operate or rule of force. But once the rule of law is taken, it's chosen, you must do everything in accordance with the law. So they had their choice. They pretended they were civilized. And so they rule by decrees. And so once you depart from the enabling decree, the court will strike down.
On a final note, I thought Justice Oputa's panel would have also helped to heal. And you were a very active participant in that session, which was supposed to be our own kind of a panel of healing, reconciliation, and Nigeria moving forward from the horrific past of the military days. But on a final note, Mr.
General Babangida went to court to stop the panel from inviting him to give his own account. Oh, yes.
So where do we go from here? You say you are taking this matter to court.
Oh, well, I'm suing the general for engaging in the massive infringement of my fundamental human rights. I'm also challenging the malicious prosecution of my person and my colleagues.
Senator Ojo Uzokalo is saying that President Tinubu should recognize for late MK Abiola as a former president of Nigeria. Do you think that was necessary?
It's already since 1993.
Yes.
He has been recognized by the people of Nigeria.
Indeed.
As an elected president.
There you go.
They are just these guys, who try to set the hands of the club back are just recognizing that now. And the last one is about this. They want to set up a library. No former military head of state has ever set up a library. What do you want to read there? You can only have a library set up by an elected president.
Elected president.
You understand me? So I hope they will, title it well. It should be
former
military president, whatever, library. It shouldn't just be a presidential library because you confuse people.
General Babangida made it clear that it was military president, and there are those who debated that there is nothing like that.
No, there's nothing like that. No. You can't have a military president because a president is elected by the people. And so he said, why he chose the title in the book, why he chose the title president was that he did it in line with the suspended provision of the Constitution. That suspended provision of the Constitution, they don't recognize a military dictator. Everybody every officer under that Constitution must be elected.
Mr. Falana, thank you so very much. Do let us know as we move on with your litigation.
For sure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. My pleasure.
We'll take a break, everyone.
Wow, what a bombshell of of a discussion. So, by the hands of Ibrahim Babangida himself, he has now thrown open all of the things that had remained, that been buried. Now, by his comment, he has removed the term bad. In effect, and it is now open for people to actually key people like Femi Falana, who was after all jailed, and others, to now actually open cases against the government because he clearly admitted that MK Abiola won the elections, and they actually did, by the discussions and clear explanation, intricate details of how the injustice was meted out, as laid out by Femi Falana SAN, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. It is now clear that indeed Ibrahim Babangida has a case to answer. He has a case to answer. And we, the people, must not relent, because what he did truncated the democracy of Nigeria, and the millions, literally millions, have suffered. Those who should have really achieved their true potential within the confines of Nigeria as a nation have had to flee because the injustice of his reign that has now fed into the other military junta that came behind him. I'm talking about Abacha. I'm talking about Abdul Salam. Who now came and tried to couch this military oppression as the foundation for the now 1999 constitution, which, by all accounts, you'll be no doubt now it's flawed. I stated the people should be the only ones deciding the what should go into a constitution, not a military document foisted on the people without their say so, without having our voice, and then they tell us we're a democracy. It is clearly flawed from day one. There's going to be more discussions around this particular issue, and I'm going to try and see if I can bring somebody and talk about this at length, because we need the people to engage in this. And also, I want to take this opportunity. I've been doing something about this, and I'm going to come and talk about it in great depth. This is an opportunity for the referendum to be done in local languages so that the people can actually understand what is being done in their name, how their sovereignty is being used, because the government is only borrowing the powers from the people, and the people thus must know those powers and understand it, and what is the impact on their lives. They must know this. So I am really glad to have seen this very important discussion by Femi Falana, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. He has really thrown wide open the doors, and every citizen of Nigeria needs to be looking at this, and we need this to be explained to the communities. I'm probably going to come and do a show tomorrow or thereabouts in Yoruba on Oduduwa TV radio, where we're going to be talking about this. I want to talk about this so people understand how weighty this is, and because this is the opportunity we need to do now to begin to actually explain to our people their role, the sovereignty that they have. And many don't understand that this is a momentous thing that just took place now. Ibrahim Babangida, trying to think of posterity and make himself look good, has actually exposed a lot of the crimes and the injustices he meted out on the people. And people who went through it, the likes of Femi Falana, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and we all know what happened to Gani Fahimi, Dele Giwa, and the likes, and so on and so forth. This is now an opportunity for those things to be addressed, and it is clear that for as long as those who carried out this, the likes of Ibrahim Babangida, who should be facing trial, not the ones deciding the fate of a country, as long as they are free, and there is this air of impunity about them, then forget anything called a democracy in Nigeria. Forget it. Because we have the whole country. Millions are literally angry and sad at the injustice. MKO was denied his mandate by a man that did not have the right to do so in any case, way, shape, or form. And all of the others that were involved. We cannot have a democracy when you have the military getting away with literally crimes against the people. You heard about Vasta and others that were literally killed on the orders of a man that was not an elected president. He was a military man. This goes much deeper than this was something that is really boomeranged back big time against Ibrahim Babangida. Watch this space. We're going to be following closely what Femi Falana and others will be doing, and this is going to be an opportunity to have a discussion around this. I'm really glad we captured this moment. Watch out for more discussions around this. We will come back and talk some more. In the meantime, I want to thank you for taking the time to listen to this broadcast. You are, of course, listening to Citizen AY, the platform where we speak truth to power. Our Battletron. Thank you, and bye for now. Thank you so much. Bye for now. Don't forget, before I go, subscribe to Citizen AY. subscribe, hit notification button, and of course, share the broadcast. Help us reach more people. It is really, really important. Before I go, one more thing. It is really, really important that we again re-emphasize that anything that we're going to do in terms of the Constitution, if we just take the Constitution in the English language, which is foreign to our land, and not take the time to make sure that the Constitution, the people are involved at the grassroots themselves in their local language, they can contribute with suggestions and the real referendum to spread across the whole nation, then what we are left with is a constitution that is still oppressing the people. We have an opportunity to change that. And then finally, make it clear to the people they have the opportunity, having now gone for regional devolution and try that out. If that's the case, that they also have the further option to say, okay, we have a referendum as a nation and decide if we are going to be together or go separate ways. And we need the people to know this in all the languages, in Yoruba, in Igbo, in Hausa. And this is where we need to begin to do this work. So I want to thank you so much. You've been listening to Citizen AY, the platform where we speak truth to power. Back later on. Thank you and bye for now.